the dice. This is it. High fly ball into right field. She is gone.
Talking baseball.
The grand salami.
Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Welcome to Fed Up, the number one podcast where you can get up on all things Federal League. I am your host, Josh Stoll. The 2024 season has officially come to an end, and it was a remarkable postseason. All four brackets featured a ton of great matchups, close games, well-played baseball. Everyone should be very proud of the effort that they put forward. In a year where the weather was very much a part of the storyline, we made it through almost unscathed by rain. We lost just a couple of innings, which we were able to make up later. Did play a large factor into one of the games, but by and large, it was beautiful weather to go right alongside with some really great baseball. Initially, my plan was to review my scorecard on this episode, where we were going to revisit our preseason picks. But just having a chance to go through and have some conversations with some of the members of these championship teams, that stuff's way more interesting. Maybe we'll do it as part of the episode next week, but really want you to just take the time to hear from our champions, get to know them, their teams a little bit better, learn what you can from what they share about their runs through the brackets, some really great perspective on what they were able to accomplish. So I'm going to do my best just to get out of the way on this episode and let you hear from them. Got four great guests lined up from the AAA champions, the Minnoka Grays. We've got Mr. Joey Olson. They call him Joey Doubles, just a huge part of the success both on the field and off that Minnoka has experienced. From the AA, we've got my teammate, great lefty, and Tim Scott, big power bat in the lineup for us, a huge reason why we were able to have the season that we did and be able to have that cup that's right here behind me. From the single A champions, the Elko Chuggers, we have Ryan Van Dusen. My first time meeting him, really great interview. I think you're really going to enjoy the time that I spent with him. And from the Class B champions, the Eden Prairie Flyers, the new kids on the block, we've got a 20-year veteran of senior baseball, Mr. Steve Brown. So without any further delay, I want to bring you the first interview. Well, it is my honor to be joined by Joey Olson of the two-time champion Minnoka Grays. Joey, welcome to Fed Up.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Very excited to be on and representing the Grays after a really fun Federal League season. So before we get going, I would like to just say on behalf of the Grays, thanks to everyone that put on a great tournament. It was another really good experience. I know that there was some scheduling difficulties early on, but Jeremy over at Waconia, getting that field, having it accessible. It sounded like there was a really good experience down at Dundas and some of the other teams that put their best foot forward. I know you guys had talked about early in the podcast about, is it an advantage to have a home field? And I would say absolutely not. The crowds are not there. All the work that goes into it, anyone that is volunteering to host has put themselves at a slight disadvantage going into the tournament. So kudos to all of those teams. Anyone that's come before us to put work into the league and grow the Federal League to what it is today. I've always really enjoyed listening to your podcast and hearing some of the history of the league. I strongly believe that this has to be the best 35-plus baseball league in the world. If there's somewhere that's better, I'd love to know what they're doing. But really, the Federal League top to bottom is a really good experience for players, families, and everyone that's involved.
Well, you guys must have a heck of a media coach over there at Minnoka, because you guys certainly know how to spread the wealth. You're a very generous group. You are very just gracious group. You guys are just so appreciative of the opportunity, and it really makes it difficult to root against you, to be honest.
Well, I know there was a couple times in earlier podcasts where you did say you were rooting against the Grays, which is very fair.
One of the things we like to do when we have a new guest on, and we're going to do it with just about everybody on today's episode, is just get to know the player and the team a little bit better, right? So maybe we can start by listening to your personal baseball story. Tell us, how long you've been along the game, where have you played, and how did you find the Federal League?
Yeah, so I grew up. I'm a product of Coon Rapids baseball. Coon Rapids Little League is awesome. I would have to say I credit a lot of my success to a very patient father who would throw as many baseballs to me in the backyard and play catch with me as long as I wanted. So I think that's where probably helped me develop a little bit more of a love for the game. I think growing up here in Minnesota, it was always nice to play baseball during the summers. And then for me, when it started to get cold, it was, hockey season, right? But yeah, I was a product of Coon Rapids baseball, great Little League baseball, great high school program. And when I finished high school, then I played for amateur ball for Blaine Fusion. And I played until I was about 28. Around 2020, COVID obviously had hit us. I had a friend that reached out to me. And because of Lars's strong presence on social media, he was following an account that was tied to the Grays somehow. And he shot me a text saying, hey, the Grays are looking for 2 players to play. They compete on Sunday, once a week on Sundays. Would you be interested in playing? I'm like, that sounds great. I haven't, played baseball, obviously, in like 8-9 years, but let's give it a go. Lars had my buddy and I, Tony Boxwell, come to a tryout. We hit for him for a little bit, and apparently it went well enough for us to make the team. And the first year we played in the Federal League. The Grays prior to that had been a team that had competed in the TCMABL, and that league was not playing that summer due to COVID. So the Grays competed in kind of a makeshift regular season. I wasn't there for too many of the initial games, but got my first taste of playoff baseball at Delano in the Federal League. And really from there, I was kind of hooked. It was really fun to meet a lot of guys that were playing baseball on other teams. The competition level was great. And I realized I was kind of missing that part of my life where I couldn't get that competition anywhere else. So it was a good fit for me. And the Grays were very welcoming as well.
Well, you know how in the NFL, when they do that coaching tree break off,
Yep.
and they show all of the assistants that used to coach and how it branches off and funnels its way and really matriculates through the entire NFL. I'd love to see Lars's tree of players and teams that he's brought over and inspired to be a part of the Federal League, just because of the amount of effort and attention that he puts into our product.
I've also been curious about that because I ended up playing for the Grays because a tweet that Lars put out. He does so much from a social media perspective. I mean, the Grays owe him, every person on the Grays owes him a massive thank you for giving us an opportunity to play baseball, and not only play baseball, but for a really well-run organization. All of the details, we've got walk-up songs, we've got concession. We play at a really nice venue in Castle Field. Our jerseys are always on point, and Lars is the driver of that. But yeah, to your point, I've always been curious about, how did everyone start their Federal League journey? Where did it come from? And that's the one thing that I really appreciate from Lars and guys like you doing the podcast. It really spreads that word out to other people that might be kind of petering out a little bit of their, amateur baseball, their 18 plus, their 28 plus, don't really know where to go next. And now with a lot more of this visibility, as we've seen, like the Federal League has just exploded over the last couple of years with teams joining the league. It's helping from like a fun perspective and also from a competition level as well.
So I want to look at your body of work from this season. I want to take you back to a time in May where you guys dropped a game to the South Metro Saints 8-3. That game was live casted, and a couple of hundred viewers took that game in. What were some of the team's thoughts after you dropped that game? Does an early loss like that kind of send up some flare signals and you guys got to rally, or is it something that's just one game and you put it behind you quickly?
I think it's just one game that you put behind you quickly. But, to the credit of the Saints that night, they were the better team. They outpitched us, they outhit us, and they outfielded us, and they kicked our butt.
Fast forward, that did seem to serve a little bit of a wake-up call. You went on about a month tear where nobody really challenged you until you ran into the Minnoka Saints, a team that you would later see in the postseason tournament. Talk about that midseason battle against the Saints. You guys came out on top 4-2 at Castle, but did you at that time realize that could be somebody that you could run into in the AAA later?
Yeah, absolutely. The only question that I had was, I think they had already lost 4 games at that, or they had lost 3 games. They lost to us. That was their 4th loss. So you're kind of looking at it. This is an excellent team. That's when it really dawned on me that AA bracket is going to be loaded this year, and it's going to be very tough, because that was a team that, they don't have much room for error. They're going to have to either win out. Maybe they can get in with only one more loss. Obviously, they ended up running the table, but it was a really good game. Brandon Casa di Calvo, awesome pitcher. I don't think he maybe always gets the credit that he deserves in this league, but I think that is starting to change. That's starting to grow. Every game that he ever pitches in, he gives his team a chance to win. So we kind of knew that they were going to have a good chance to be there at the end of the year after that game.
They got hot after that one. They obviously rip off 10 in a row to snag the West Division there. And they do sneak in as the 6th seed in the AAA, which set them up for another matchup against you guys. One that was another pitcher's duel, really low scoring. Who came up big for you guys in that opening round win?
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to win that game 1-0. That was a game that could have went either way. We could have gotten a couple more runs. They could have gotten a couple more runs, but ultimately the pitching and defense were king in that game. For us, Jack Nelson and Mark Von Ruden. Jack went 4, Mark went 3. They were tough on the Saints bats all night long. They only allowed 4 hits and 8 base runners. Casa di Calvo was pretty much flawless on the other side, only giving up 1 run. A couple key moments for us in the game. Jack Nelson worked out of a bases loaded jam in the top of the 4th with only 1 out. He eventually, with 2 outs, got Travis Zenda to line out to center field. It was a really good swing that Travis put on the ball. If it wasn't right to Mark Von Ruden in center, you and me might not be talking on this podcast, because we could have easily went into that loser's bracket. Another big moment in the game, top of 5. It was still 0-0 at this point. Matt Johnson, also known as the Twins Almanac, was playing first base. Mark Von Ruden was pitching at this point, had allowed the first 2 base runners to reach. And hitter for the Saints kind of hit it like a soft line drive to Matt over at first base. At my vantage from second was going over his head, and it was going to be we're going to be down 1-0, probably at first and third situation. Matt got up, in a 35-year-old man vertical, whatever that is these days, but he got up, made the catch, and we were able to double a runner off of second base. So it kind of changed the complexion of the game. And how often do you see a guy make a great play in the field? He led off the next inning with a double. I think it was on the first or second pitch. He later scored on a Mark Von Ruden single. So kind of the stars of that game was a little bit of the Jack Nelson, Mark Von Ruden from a pitching perspective. But Matt had the defensive play, offensive spark to get us going. And then Mark closed out the game and had the game-winning hit. So a win for Mark and the winning hit in RBI.
That victory set up a second-round matchup against a team that you guys are very, very familiar with. You saw them in the regular season. You lost to Kenny Wangler 3-2, I believe it was. This one was also another low-scoring pitching duel, kind of a calling card of your guys' team in the playoffs. This one was a 2-0 game. How were you able to pull that one off?
Yeah, and I think not only a calling card for the Grays, but I think if you historically, or at least the 4 years that I've been in the Federal League, anytime early in the playoffs, it is pitching and defense. I think a lot of times teams coming into the playoffs, play a variety of teams, and all of a sudden, you're getting a pitcher that's a 1A, you're getting a defense that's elite, and runs are going to be at a premium. So a lot of times what I've seen, like when we've been on the wrong end of some games, and when we've been on the right side the last couple of years, a lot of times it's that team that breaks the first or makes just a minor mistake. And Bub went for us, and Matt Grill went for the Mammoth. Great pitching performance by both of those. Matt is as tough as it comes in the Federal League. We were lucky enough or fortunate enough where Alex Gonzalez singled in the first. He advanced to second on a walk, got to third base on a ground out, and then was able to score on, I guess, what you'd call like a pass ball or a wild pitch. So that put us up 1. The third inning, we scratched together a run kind of on like a combination of like an air and another ground out. So that was, 2 runs. And after that, it was really the Matt Grill and Bub Lovis show. That game felt like it could have went 20 innings and the score would have stayed 2-0. Bub was phenomenal. Might have been the best game that I've seen him pitch in a Grays uniform. I know you're a fellow pitcher, so I'll throw this stat at you, but Bub threw a complete game, 7 innings. He allowed 4 hits and struck out 4, no walks. He threw 65 pitches and 49 were for strikes. So in 7 innings of baseball, Bub threw 16 balls that game. So it was quite the performance from Bob, and I would assume that you could kind of appreciate that as a fellow pitcher.
Well, I certainly do appreciate it. More so in the fact that not only is that pretty indicative that he's a guy that is throwing strikes, but he's not putting it over the middle either. Because if he were just pumping strikes, pumping the zone, that is a team that could hurt you. But I can imagine his control was pinpoint. He was hitting corners. He was working the ball all over, changing speeds. To keep that team off the board entirely is a really tremendous effort.
Yeah, it really was. We did a good job of playing good defense behind us, but Bub was phenomenal, and our pitching staff, tip of the cap to them on weekend 1, because we scored 3 runs, and without good pitching and defense, we would not have probably been in the winners bracket or even alive after day 1 and 2.
Well, there's no rest for the weary for you guys, because your second weekend opened up with a juggernaut. The Lakeville Lobos, who at the time were 19-0-1. They had their ace on the hill. Mr. Erdahl has had just an incredible season. Tell me about the lead up of the week in between, knowing that you're taking on the Lobos, who were erroneously Fed Up's pick to win the AAA.
Yeah, I think that was a great pick by you. They were a extremely deep team with a deep pitching staff, deep hitting core, great defense. We knew we had our work cut out for us. Kind of the week leading up, it's something that was really enjoyable. Jim Brower, one of your guests, we had him out to Castle Field kind of for like a hitting practice. Jim and another individual, Taylor Nelson, who pitches for the Minnoka Bucks, were kind enough to just come and throw like simulated BP to us. And I think a lot of us got in anywhere from 8 to 12 at-bats off of really quality arms. I think what we had saw the previous week on, with Brandon and Matt, combined with what we saw for the week, really allowed our bats to be a little bit more comfortable and feel a level of comfort against Don, because Don has 3+ pitches that he brings. He's got a really good cutter or slider. I don't know what he actually calls it, a plus fastball for the Federal League, and a good changeup as well. So Yeah, it was a really tough matchup. We started Bub. Bub went 6, and Billy Diaz went 1 inning. Between the two of them, they allowed 11 base runners, which is a testament to how scrappy that Lakeville lineup is. They just really don't allow you any comfort throughout the game. But the pitching staff and defense was good again, and we're able to only allow 1 run. Our bats did wake up a little bit. We were able to generate 14 hits. We took advantage of a couple of errors by the Lobos. We were paced at the plate by Dustin Wolf. He was one of our new additions to the team this year. He went 3 for 3 with a double, a walk, a run scored, and 1 RBI. Couple of the big moments in the game. I thought, in the first inning, we were able to kind of jump on Don a little bit and get a run across to help build that confidence. Sometimes it's kind of hard when a pitcher comes out and gets that scoreless 1-2-3. But Alex Gonzalez was really key. We flip-flopped him and Dan Skog at the top of our lineup, and Alex responded really well. He led off the game against the Lobos with a double. We were able to get him across the plate and put up that first run. And then the bottom of the third, defensively, I thought Matt Carter, our catcher, had a really important sequence. They had runners on first and third, and as we know, sometimes it's easier to swipe bases in the Federal League compared to other leagues in baseball, and they decided to run. Matt threw the runner out with a great throw to get us to 2 outs. The next pitch, Bub threw one in the dirt. Matt blocked it to keep the runner from scoring, and then Bub got out of that jam, and we went up in the top of the fourth, put up 4 runs, and it felt like we kind of had the momentum from there.
From there, it was kind of the sit and wait game because when you knocked Lakeville down into the 1-loss bracket, there had to be a lot of infighting to see who would emerge back to meet you in the championship. We didn't give Newmarket a ton of airtime in the episode leading up to that weekend, and shame on us because that is a team that is just an absolute tough out year in and year out, and it turned out to be them. They beat Lakeville in a big game of revenge for them. I'm sure that felt very, very sweet for them. How much did they have left in the tank by the time they finally made it back to meet you in that final?
I think that'd be a great question for Slip or Gurmar to really answer that and find out what the energy level was there. To your point, that is a team you should absolutely never count out. They're very, very confident in their ability. You can pretty much pencil them in at the start of every year that they're going to be in a final in the AAA. I like to stay around the ballpark, watch a lot of the games just to, chat with people around the ballpark, but then also see, what some of the other teams' strengths and weaknesses are. And honestly, watching them slug their way through the losers bracket did not help any confidence going into that game because, man, their bats were hot and they have such a talented lineup. And then they got a deep pitching staff as well. So when I showed up to the field and received their lineup card, you see Jake Krause leading off, who played baseball for the Saints. Chris Duda is a town ball legend, and his bat was about as hot of a bat in the tournament as you'd find. Scott Linden, a staple for Newmarket. Chris Johnson batting 4, again, another St. Louis Park Pirate legend, and Matt Paulson rounded out their top 5. And then you're looking down towards the bottom of the lineup, and Pete Fuller's hitting 8. It's like, okay, these guys want to win. It's going to be a real serious night at the ballpark. And we knew we had our work cut out for us when you kind of look at that as their lineup.
And they gave you a run. To their credit, they had to spend a lot of energy in getting back. The team that emerged from that losers bracket was attempting to win 5 games in 3 days leading up to that final to be able to double dip you. It was a 6-4 final, well played,
Yep.
very competitive.
Yep.
Who specifically answered the bell for the Grays in the final?
Yeah, I think to your point, and kind of going back to the question around, like what did they have left in the tank? Obviously, huge advantage for the Grays, only playing 3 games, and tough draw for Newmarket coming through the losers bracket, with all of their pitchers on. I would assume they were on fumes. Gurmar started the game against us. He's facing off against Jack Nelson, so similar recipe that we had to 2023 on like the rotation that we went. Jack Bub and then Bub Jack in the final 2 days, but Jack went four innings, giving up 3 runs, 2 earned. Billy went the final 3. I think one of the biggest keys in the game for us is we gave up 2 runs in that first inning, and their team had a ton of momentum going, but we were able to come up in the bottom of the first. We only trailed in the tournament, which was key for us. We only trailed for that half inning, which is a testament to, I guess, our group and kind of the fight that we have, anytime we face a little bit of adversity. But again, Alex Gonzalez leading off, doubled for us again to start that. And I think that kind of just sent that collective like fire through the dugout of like, hey, we can do this. Skog in the 2-hole, that just allows him, to use his high baseball IQ. He laid down a push bunt that got past Gurmar right to the second baseman. He beat that out, stole second. We were able to get a hit from our third hitter to drive in 2 runs, advance to second on a throw. And then by the time our, 5th hitter came up, we had the lead in that game. And for there, we were able to kind of tack on some single runs, I believe, in like the 4th, 5th, and 6th. They put a couple runs up, but we went into the 7th inning with a 6-3 lead. And the only problem is the top of their order was coming up, who has been absolutely terrorizing this bracket in the tournament. We kind of had some questions like within our dugout. A lot of times, we work together as a group to kind of talk to the pitchers on, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Billy Diaz's curveball or slider was really on that night. He was pitching great. So the decision was made to send him out there for the 7th. We knew whoever we sent out there, good luck. Partly in my head, I'm like, all right, if we can get out of here 6-6, that'd be great. Maybe we can walk them off. But we knew it was going to be a big challenge. And sure enough, Billy faced their first 3 batters. Jake Krause is pretty much an impossible out. Billy threw 3 nasty sliders to him, had 2 strikes on him. And the third one he threw to Jake. Jake just made it look easy and dumped it into center field. And you're like, all right, they're coming. Duda walked, and then Scott Linden was able to single. So 3 batters in, it was 6-4, and we had nobody out and runners on first and second. Billy walked the next batter. So at this point, we're sitting bases loaded, and you're kind of sitting there, as someone who helps make decisions of what are we going to do? We got Mark Von Ruden, we got Dan Skog, we got some options to go to, but bringing them into a scenario with bases loaded, that's never an easy decision. So we just kept rolling with Billy. He was able to strike out Chris Johnson on a nice slider. Next batter popped up, so we had 2 outs. Then Billy happened to walk the next hitter, so we had bases loaded, tying run on, 2 outs, and Billy got into a really good battle with Mike Arlt, a great hitter. He put several really good swings on, some tough sliders, but in the end, Billy got him to pop out to Matt Carter, which was a very tough play that was in front of home plate, just kind of like a little looping pop-up, and Matt came out, made the catch, and that was it for the game. And just thankfully, we did not have to go to a second game with them.
And the champagne was on from there. I appreciate the way that you really break these down for us, maybe in a little bit more depth than we'll do with the rest of our brackets. But, I think it's important for the rest of the league, who might not be at the same site, really, to take this in, right? To to kind of recap some of these and to hear, how the top prize was won. I'm sure that guys wish they could be there taking some of these games, but the lesson that I kind of draw from all this is how close these games are, how one or two plays really does make the difference when you're playing with the slimmest of margins. So congrats on just a well-played tournament and reaching the pinnacle of success in the Federal League once again.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was definitely rewarding and a lot of fun to compete at, I guess, what would be the highest level of 35 plus in Minnesota and come out on top. But a huge congratulations to all the teams that were in our bracket. Kind of felt like for the very first year that all 8 teams had a shot to compete and win. Hastings, Rosemont, extremely competitive teams that were just monsters in their own right with a lot of like individual skill on both of those teams. But yeah, the 4 teams that we had to go through, it could be argued that they could have easily beat us, putting us into the losers bracket. And then at that point, it becomes very, very tough to come out of there and double dip unless you're that Apple Valley A's.
Well, we'll get to them soon enough, but and maybe you're answering my question in a little bit of foreshadowing here, but compare the 2 runs for me, 2023, 2024. You're back-to-back champions. On the surface, they look pretty similar. The regular season, give or take a game, you guys were able to keep it clean and stay in the winner's bracket both years now. Pitching and defense seemed to be the formula, but tell me just how similar those 2 runs felt and tell me what some of the biggest differences were.
I actually started to stack up the stats. Our runs were very, very similar. We were fortunate enough, and I think, one of the keys to success is obviously staying in that winner's bracket as long as you can. We were able to do it to win both years in 4 games. Across both of those runs in 2023, we gave up a total of 4 runs and we scored 19. This year we gave up 5 runs and scored 17. Our pitching staff in 2023 had a whip of 0.96 and an ERA of 1.29. This year we had a whip of 1.14. I think we hit a few more batters than we may have liked to, but the ERA was the exact same at 1.29. So I think that recipe for success that we learned from those before us, right? We had to learn some hard lessons. And, when I came into the Federal League, we learned some hard lessons in 2020, 2021, 2022 from all the great teams before us. Newmarket got us twice one year. The Mammoth got us twice one year. Lakeville put us out of commission before. And one thing that we really learned was you can't beat yourself. So pitching and defense is key. And we were able to apply that, the last couple of years. One of the key stats over the 8 games that we've played over the last 2 years, we've only had 1 error in those games. So that's been obviously very helpful. But that has always allowed, we believe that we have a good hitting team as well, but a lot of times good pitching can neutralize our lineup. So as long as our pitching and defense can let us hang around, that gives, our hitters an opportunity, to get a run here or there.
So absolutely everybody will be gunning for you in 2025. The 3-peat is not easy to do. Elko was able to pull it off a handful of years ago. But the league is deeper. The league is more talented. It is growing and evolving in a way that is quickly just becoming harder to stay on top. So how do you find that balance now of keeping the core together and facing that need of continuing to invest in the future, maybe getting younger, maybe adding a piece here or there? What does your off season look like this year as you prepare for a 3-peat?
A great question. Lars and I have not yet discussed that. I think when we look at like some of the changes that we made between like 2020, into the 2023 where we continued to add individuals, Lars was kind enough to allow me to, start to bring in people that were what I thought were quality baseball players with high baseball IQ. But I think that the big thing that has been key for the Grays and, helped move us to be more competitive is really we've got a team full of selfless ball players that, might not get an at bat throughout this whole tournament, might only play defensively, might only pitch 2 or 3 outs, but everybody's contributions are meaningful to our team. And I think everyone on our team is more excited to see someone else succeed than themselves. And that's been, really key to helping us, kind of get over that hump the last 2 years.
I have the benefit of speaking to some of the other players from some of the other championships coming into your interview here. And I would just say that guys knowing and accepting their role and willingly contributing seems to really have a profound impact on the overall team results. I can speak for our team that, we had 20 guys in the dugout for our championship game. And we had guys who were looking for every single way to be able to contribute, whether it's pinch running or playing defense or focusing on the offensive side, or, even if it was warming up the pitcher in between innings or running to the backstop and grabbing foul balls or trotting down to the bullpen and catching somebody. It was just everybody was on the same page, committed to finding what little thing they could do to contribute on the whole.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that that's a common theme. I think that, anytime, whether it's in sports or in life, business, whatever it may be, if you're going to be successful, there's typically a team effort that goes into it and roles that are defined and people that, might be able to do more, might be able to do a little bit less, but they accept what that role is going to be. And then I think that there's also, there's different lessons that get learned or taught through losing and failure. And I think there's a lot that goes into what do you learn from those losses? What do you learn from that failure? And how do you apply it going forward? That really helps define a team.
Success is certainly limited in its ability to teach us things. Oftentimes we do learn better through failure, and some of those lessons that we learn end up really serving us as well. I think you guys are a classic example of how the struggle can give you strength.
I think one thing that I've seen is that where the Grays were in that 2020 to 2022 era, I see a lot of teams with that potential right now that are like right on that cusp of taking that next step and bringing their team to potentially like overtaking the Grays, the Mammoth, Newmarket, and the Lobos as that next wave of teams. And now it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Northerns, the Grays, the Lobos, and the Mammoth do to try to keep themselves, above that next tier of teams. So it's gonna be a really interesting off season, and it's going to be a very interesting 2025 with how competitive things are.
I, right along with you, will be keeping an eye on the Federal League hot stove when it fires up again early spring, just after our winter meetings. But for now, enjoy your victory. It is very well deserved.
I'll give you one little nugget for the hot stove that you might have already heard. Alex Gonzalez, big key to our team. Him and his wife, they just had a new baby. They are going to be moving to Florida next year. So we will be out without the services of Alex. He's one of my favorite characters in the Federal League. And we're going to miss him, but that will be one key piece to that hot stove to get you started, Josh.
Well, there you go. Breaking news here on Fed Up. That will be a certainly a big loss for you guys. Alex has been a contributor of yours over the years, both on the mound and at the plate, and to the league as a whole. quite the character. We're certainly
Very
all
much so.
going to miss him a lot. Thanks for sharing that nugget, Joey, and wish you guys a ton of luck maintaining your core as you look to achieve that three-peat next season.
Cool. Thank you very much, Josh. Good luck to all the teams in the off season, and enjoy the rest of your 2024.
Love the way that Joey breaks things down for us, certainly in a lot of detail. I think his baseball acumen and his passion for the game just shine through in talking to him. We won't break down the rest of the brackets perhaps in as much detail, but I think it's valuable to have some of that insight into how those games went down and realize just how well played and how competitive each of those games are. I mentioned it in the preview. Every game was like a heavyweight fight, and that certainly bore out through the results. So congratulations to the Minnoka Grays. Our next guest, I mentioned it's Mr. Tim Scott from the Apple Valley A's, the Class AA champions. He's a good friend of mine, great teammate. I know you're going to enjoy hearing from him. Well, it is my absolute honor to welcome my teammate, my friend, and current member of the AA champions, the Apple Valley A's, Mr. Tim Scott. Tim, welcome to Fed Up.
Thanks, Josh. Happy to be here, man. I always felt like I, listening to your show all the time, and just was always hoping to get that call that I'd get on the screen for you, and I finally got it.
Oh man,
So
you're just brown
happy here.
nosing now, but yeah. Hey, we did it, buddy. I got the cup in the background here.
Heck yeah. Well earned.
When we have new guests on here, we obviously the reason we brought you on is the results of the past weekend, but would love for the league to get to know you a little bit better. You know, it allows us to show up to a game and feel like you know something about a person and kind of shrink the community a little bit. So why don't you start by telling us your baseball story?
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in Ely, Minnesota, so I was, small town kid that liked to play all the sports, baseball being one of them, and then basketball and football. I think baseball kind of had the highest cap for me, so college, that's what I went to go do. Spent a couple years at University of Nebraska. Just kind of rode the pine there, didn't really play, but had a great experience, and then moved to St. Cloud State University, where I pitched for the next 3 years. Had a pretty good run of it. We were one game shy of the College World Series my senior year, which was devastating, but also super cool to be a part of. And that's where I met our teammate and one of my closest buddies, Pat Delahunt, who is also on the A's and a big contributor of that cup behind you. So yeah, I just growing up, loved playing baseball, loved pitching, and that's kind of where my college route took me, was pitching. Unfortunately, I had a shoulder injury, tore my labrum senior year, so had that surgery, and came back for a little bit of my senior year, but that was basically it. I graduated from college, played a little bit of amateur ball for the Tri-City Shark for a year or so, and then just kind of gave it up, joined the military. Didn't think I'd ever play again, and then after the military, 10 years later, we're here again. So I'm pretty glad I picked up a baseball again.
A's are too, but tell everyone how you found the Federal League.
Well, I married Samantha Scora, who her father is Apple Valley great, I would say. Been around for a long time. Played in the 35 and older league, and then in the 50 and older, and he's still a part of it. Still going strong. So yeah, I think there was no option when we were moving back to Minnesota. It was, hey, this is what you're going to be doing next, Tim. But no, it's he told me about it, asked if I'd be interested in playing, and then he got me hooked up with you, and the rest is history.
There are a lot of people listening who will know that name, Mr. Mike Scora. Certainly, yes, one of the A's greats. Been around a long time, former manager, absolutely just great passer of the game. Love being around him. Got a chance to see him Sunday at the championship game, and I will say his daughter Sam has excellent taste in men. Glad she didn't marry a hockey player or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Big Mike, he's happy about that.
You mentioned you joined the military. I see the flag up on the wall. I think people might be a little interested in hearing a little bit about your time as a former Navy SEAL. Have a favorite memory from your time as being a SEAL, or how similar? And now I'm not comparing a game to war, but how similar are some of the experiences just being a part of a team and having a little brotherhood going?
Yeah. No, I think that, I mean, you said it right there. It's the brotherhood. It's being a part of something that's special to you. And the SEAL teams was that for me. I had a great time. Fought through a lot of challenges, met some of the best men in the world, and had a pretty impactful time in the military, and absolutely loved it. And it correlates directly to the A's and to baseball. As I was getting out of the military, it was one of those things where I didn't know if I would find community kind of like I just left. Right, I had a lot of close friends. And getting back into the civilian world, as a veteran as well, it's tough, right? And then I got into the A's, and it's like there was a bond right away. We just have a lot of good guys on the team that they're super fun. They love the game. They love to have a beer afterwards and talk and just shoot the shit. It's just great. So when I got going again with the A's, it's something clicked, and it's like this is what I needed to just be a part of something again. So yeah, I mean, there's such direct correlation between the two. It's war versus a game, which we can't really correlate. But hell, we have a lot of competitive drive on the field as well, and it shows. And yeah, it's a great time.
Let's fast forward to this season. I mean, you've had a ton of success in all three of your years now as an A, but this season was maybe one that you probably had your biggest setback in. Back in a game on June 9th, I'll take you back to Rosemount. You were just a couple outs away from beating them for a second time already in the short season. Just one out shy of your 23rd inning pitch. You already had 30 strikeouts in that time. You would later go on to earn the win in that game, and would be your third victory already of the season. But we got some bad news that day.
Yeah.
We had to shut you down for a little while. Just tell me some of the emotions around going through that injury.
Yeah. It was tough. I've faced injuries before. Like I said, I had a shoulder surgery that put me out for a while. I was injured in the military a little bit. I'm well versed in being hurt, I guess, but I've never had elbow pain before in my whole pitching career. So it was kind of a different one for me. And it hurt because it's one of those things where, it's I just want to be on the mound. I want to contribute to the team. It's just fun being up there. So yeah, we had quite a bit of setback. It took a while to get an MRI. Unfortunately, I don't think that MRI is looking good. I think we have a torn UCL. So we got to decide what we're going to do going forward. But that the great thing about the A's, especially, we have great pitching to back me up. Herb stepped up massively. You, Pilo, like we just have a great staff that can really, throw a lot of strikes and keep us in a lot of ball games. So it was next man up. That's the game, right? That's baseball. People get hurt, so it's always next man up.
Grays get a ton of props for having probably the deepest pitching staff in the league, and maybe rightfully so. But I really would put our guys up against any of them, especially when we have you included in that. Team ERA of 1.33 this year. I mean, we only allowed more than 3 runs in a game 3 times all season, and
Yeah, it's crazy.
just a really impressive run by our pitching staff through the year. But you found other ways to contribute. You were still able to come out, and we had you running around the outfield a little bit, and you weren't throwing right away.
Yeah.
But you're able to keep swinging the bat. How did it feel to be able to kind of contribute and still being able to help carry the load down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. one of the great things about playing in a 35 and older league and not college ball anymore is when you're a pitcher, you still get to hit for the most part. So my whole career was the mound basically, and that was about it. So I mean, I love playing outfield. I love hitting. I don't think I'm great at either, but we're getting better as we start to continue to play. So yeah, that was fun. It's always a good time to go see some pitches and see it from the other side, and try to hit that moving ball.
I still remember one of the first conversations we had when you told me, I'm just a pitcher. I don't really hit. I might be able to run around in the outfield, but just a little foreshadowing for what's coming up here. But let's dive into the weekend. All right.
Yeah.
Let's just take a closer look at how we were able to win this thing behind me. Game of the weekend, taking on the Metro Loons. Game got it off to a little bit of a rocky start, but that aforementioned teammate of yours, Mr. Pat De La Hunt, was just clutching this one. He had a big double that gave us the lead back 3-2 in the third inning. And from there, we were able to lock him down and get this one done. But you were able to put those outfield skills on display in the top half of the seventh.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of a bad jump on that ball, but pretty amazing diving catch, dude.
Yeah, well, I don't think probably wouldn't have had to dive if I made the right read off the bat, but yeah, luckily we got there in time and got to make that catch for you. That was it. Yeah, you were pitching a heck of a game, man. So I didn't want to mess anything up.
I'm grateful that you're out there. You were still running really well at that point, but you had another setback in the
Yeah.
Rockford game, our next game. You're rounding third, and what happened?
Yeah, we round in third, about to keep going for home, and then was held up, and just that hard stop, going trying to go fast to complete stop, just playing on the right leg and heard a pop on the hammy, which yeah, it sucks. I knew right away that it wasn't good, but kind of just stumbled my way back to third. You got me out of there and tried to hit that. I think the next couple at bats with it didn't go as well. So yeah, it's I mean it's sore, it's tender, it doesn't feel great, but swinging felt okay. So you and I decided that I can do that at least, and if I have to hobble the first, and I'll hobble the first. So
I already had just a ton of respect for you and your toughness and your desire to compete, but just love the way that you and I kind of go about that. There's not a lot of words said,
no,
it's just kind of
yeah,
one of these thumbs up,
just
thumbs
like
down
Tim.
situations.
Yep,
You
we're
gave
good.
me the thumbs up, and we were on. So that brought us to Sunday morning, then championship day. We've taken on the Burnsville Bulldogs, and we have to come back and double dip them on Sunday. That teammate of yours pops up huge again. He takes the
Yep.
mound for us. Absolutely, just really dominant the entire game. They didn't really mount much of anything offensively. He also triples and drives in a couple of runs
Yep.
that game.
Yep.
What more do you have to say about your friend and your teammate,
Oh,
Pilo?
he's the best. I love Pilo. He's such a good pitcher. He knows how to keep batters off balance. He has such a good repertoire of mixing in his curveball, his changeup, his fastball. He can spot so well. Just an all around complete pitcher, and he's been like that his whole career, which is it's just been fun to watch. So it's been great to get him back on the mound for us. And not only him, but like our defense was just phenomenal, right? I think we had 0 errors in on Championship Sunday. Matty Stengel at third, Cogsy at second, right? Like everyone just played out of their mind, and it's just a testament to like how gritty the A's are.
You said it. You said it well. Uh, so after we win the first game, I had went 7 Saturday morning. Herm Solomon had gone 7 Saturday afternoon, and Pilo had gone 7 Sunday morning. For the record, we made exactly 0 managerial pitching changes throughout this
Yep,
entire tournament.
nothing
We
but
just threw guys
CGs.
out there, and nobody needed to be pulled.
Yep, crazy.
That left us with a decision to make, and we just you were involved a little bit in making that decision, and we all kind of collectively decided Herm had the most in the tank. What do you have to say about your teammate Herm Solomon?
An absolute bulldog.
He really is.
He'll tell you that too. Um, but he is just like I mean, there was no doubt he wanted to throw that game.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean the guy crushing C4 in the dugout and just getting pumped up, like he wanted that game so bad, and I'm very happy and very proud of how he handled that. He did so well and kept us in that game. I mean, he's just a massive reason why we have that championship trophy behind you.
He absolutely is. I think once we made that second game, I think we felt it in our dugout. They may have felt it in theirs too, but it just kind of felt like our day. Like all of the pressure was on them, and things were um, really just kind of that calm, collective feeling that things are going to work out for us. Able to get off to a hot start in the top half of inning number 1 and game number 2. We had 2 on, 2 out, and you hit a bomb to left field, just giving us an absolute shot of momentum right out the gate. How did that swing feel?
That felt really good. Really good. It was like after I hit it, it was kind of like a feeling of relief, just based off of what happened yesterday. I know we had a great team win, but personally, like I got the news of the MRI results. I had the popped hamstring, so uh, to be able to um, contribute in that way right off the bat it felt good. It didn't feel great running the bases, but we got through it. But yeah, like it was great, and you could see it. Like it was such a big momentum swing. Just after that big first win, and then coming right back into the first inning and putting a 3 spot on the board, and then Herm going out and shutting them down. It was, I think, a little deflating for Burnsville and pretty uplifting for us, and we were able to hold that momentum through the game.
They probably could have clocked your trot with a calendar of some sorts, but you could tell that leg was definitely bothering you. I feel like the tournament for us was kind of a microcosm of the season, right? Where we almost get no hit in game 1, right? And we spent much of the month of May not hitting as a team. We lost 4 of our first 5, I think it was, and then things started to click. It started with our pitching, carried through our defense, and then guys started hitting, and that's kind of the way the tournament went. But I also feel like it was kind of a microcosm of your season too, right? Where you you had some success early, you had the setback with an injury, but then you were able to keep contributing and really delivering results for us. And that's the way the tournament went for you too. You had the injury, the setback, but you
Yeah.
end up being just one of the heroes in the championship game.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I didn't really think about that, but I think, uh, yeah, I mean, we struggled as a team, and we knew it early on. And the great thing about the team and the boys is just like we just stay light. We stay having fun with the game, and we let the game come to us. I don't feel like we try to force too many things. And it seems like, when moments matter, people step up. Um, and we had so many people step up. And we had more, like, I wasn't the one just injured, right? We had Tony out in center. He had a bad hamstring. Paulie Bisnet had a bad hamstring. Matty Stengel was taking balls off the chest, Bruce Peter Dorn style. Like Danny Miller catching 7 games straight. Like, there's just a lot of grit through our whole team, and it's just awesome to see. I love it. Just ball
Yeah, I
players.
couldn't agree more. Definitely a fun group, a really fun run. I know I'm going to enjoy having this cup behind me in my house, or if we decide to make it a traveling trophy, at least in on the team's residences for the next year. But rest assured that I think we're all interested in trading up for the AAA next year.
Absolutely. And it doesn't take anything away from the AA championship. But I think we all know our goal for next year is to get back in AAA and to compete and hopefully get that one next. So, but that last night was fun. I wouldn't trade that. The surprise champagne bottles and just enjoying that moment with everyone it was super cool. I don't care what level it is. It's fun.
I absolutely agree with you. There's been a lot of cool moments since we were able to put the bow on a great season, but certainly chalk this moment up as one of them. An absolute pleasure to just have the time to be able to sit down with you, talk about this, get to know you a little bit better, and just want to congratulate you and the rest of the team again for a really great season, and really looking forward to getting healthy over the off season and seeing what we can do to come back next year.
Heck yeah, man. Next year we'll do it. But no, I appreciate it. It's very humbling being a part of this. Love that you started this up. There's no better man for the job here to take over Fed Up, the #1 podcast of the Federal League.
That's right. Well, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you taking the time. Just love you.
All right.
Have a good one.
See you, bud.
Well, it's been a lot of just great affirmation from around the league, a lot of congratulatory texts and calls for our team being able to get the AA done. Perhaps that's one of the highlights, though, was spending some additional time with my teammate, Mr. Tim Scott, being able to share him with the rest of the league. Our single A guest from the Elko Chuggers is Ryan Van Dusen. This league is just full of great baseball people who must have watched a lot of interviews growing up, because you guys are all so well-spoken, so much better at this than I am. You're going to love the interview I did with Ryan Van Dusen, so enjoy. Well, I am joined now by a member of the Single A champion Elko Chuggers. Welcome to Fed Up, Ryan Van Dusen.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk baseball with you tonight.
Yeah, whenever we have a new guest, a new team on, we like to hear a little bit about, it's kind of a meet the Federal League, right? So why don't you tell us just a little bit about your personal baseball story?
Yeah. I went to Apple Valley High School. I was mostly a pitcher growing up, but I was fairly athletic. I was on the football team, did some basketball as well. But when I got to college, I went to Salt Lake Community College in Utah, and they're like, "Hey, you're busting everybody's butt in sprints, in the workouts. Maybe you try the outfield." And I was like, never really played the outfield before. Maybe this isn't the fit for me. So I ended up transferring back home to Dakota County Technical College in Rosemont, and became an outfielder.
Yeah. Couldn't fight your destiny any longer.
Yeah, exactly. But I had a couple really good seasons there at DCTC. Rode that to a scholarship at St. Cloud State. Played amateur ball for Shakopee for 2 years. Went to Lonsdale, actually, for 2 years. And then in 2010, I joined the Elko Express. So I've been kind of in the Elko family ever since.
Tell us a little bit about your crew. I know Elko is a team that has had just a ton of success in the Federal League. I'm aware that there's been some turnover, but tell us a little bit about where you got the core of your guys from, and how long you've been playing together.
Well, we got a lot of our core from the Express, the Elko Express. And a lot of these guys I've been playing with since 2010, the year after Elko Express won the state tournament. And then we have a lot of guys from Mankato that went to college ball together in Mankato, and then they kind of came back and formed a little group with us. And we also have a Latin presence on our team, so we have a lot of we've got 4 players, I think, from the Latin League that come and play for us, big contributors to us. We love them. And then we've got a couple guys from Dundas as well. So a little bit all around.
How much do you think, whether it be success from the championship run with the Express, or maybe it be some of the holdovers that were a part of some of the three championships, in the AAA and the Federal League. How much does that success of being able to run through a tournament and come out on the winning side of things, how much does that experience really factor in for you guys?
I think it factors in a lot. We have a lot of guys that have experience winning and know how to do the little things to get you over the hump, to get you that one run that you need. Bunting people over, stealing an extra base, taking an extra base. That's something that you either have the baseball IQ or you don't. We got the team that knows how to do that stuff to win ball games, and we have a lot of guys that participate in the 35 plus World Series down in Florida and Arizona, and a lot of guys on our team have rings. So we got experience winning, and it kind of showed this past weekend in the state tournament.
Let's look at the season that was for you guys. It started off a little rocky. I know you guys play really in an impossibly difficult division when you're running into teams like Lakeville and Newmarket, a couple of times a year. And then you got to go and play the other half of the South and teams like Hastings. I know you ran into Burnsville and Rockford. It was a really tough schedule for you guys. Talk about just a little bit about some of the reasons why you might have gotten out to the slow start aside from the schedule.
Yeah, I think, life came and hit us this year. We had a couple babies born at the beginning of the year. We've got a lot of guys that are younger parents that are helping their kids coach. A couple of guys that are still playing with the kids in the under 35 league. Yeah. And, we struggled with a little bit of injuries as well. So it was tough coming to the ballpark for a lot of those regular season games, not knowing if you even had a pitcher that day or, we're going to play guys on positions they're not comfortable with. And so we never really had our core group of players until this last weekend in the state tournament. So it was always kind of like a what if season. But then we got to see what if at the end of the tournament.
Perhaps more common in our league than many others. Baseball it's not the priority for everyone. We all know that. We've got competing priorities, with full-time jobs and families. And, I always love the traditional trajectory of a Federal League player where, they played town ball somewhere, then they took a few years off to concentrate on the more important things in life, we'll call them. And then they get back into baseball. Some of our seasons end up being little microcosms of that when guys are off for weddings and, taking care of their kids, going to college and whatever it might be. But it can be a lot for a team to overcome. Certainly yours sounds like it's no exception, but I know it's a story that a lot of teams are familiar with.
Yeah. I'm just happy that we were able to get our core guys and get them healthy for this stretch run. It was a lot of fun this last weekend.
Awesome. Well, let's fast forward then to the tournament. Your first round matchup was against a team that you know pretty well, the Lonsdale Jokers.
That was probably the toughest game of the tournament. And I say that because we were the most shorthanded in that game. We had a gritty pitching performance by Mick Duderow, good enough defense to get us by, and we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We've got a really good core group of guys that just know how to get the things done. And in that game, I think it was a 4-3 win. Just happened to come out on top on that one. Once that game ended, I knew we were getting some of our guys back. So I knew kind of we had a really good shot the rest of the way.
Well, it didn't get much easier from there. Out of that first weekend, you had to run into a TC Snappers team that you would eventually see again. But Jeff Wilson's boys really know how to play well once that calendar page flips into August. A team that is also no slouch when it comes to accolades in the postseason in the Federal League. Talk a little bit about that game. Who are your heroes? How did you get that one done?
Well, hats off to the TC Snappers. You know, they gave us two pretty good games. I think in the fifth or sixth inning, though, Jason Grimm hit a 3-run bomb for us that really put us over the top and gave us a lot of breathing room. We came into that game pretty confident, though. I mean, we our 1 through 9. I mean, I'd put it up with almost any team in the state in that game, and the final 3 games, and we knew we could hit. You know, it was a question of whether we could out hit some of our fielding blunders, and that one was fun. We kind of pulled away at the end, gave us a lot of confidence going forward in the next game.
Yeah, you guys certainly can hit. A lot of guys up and down that lineup who had just really incredible offensive seasons. The second weekend started, and you had to take on the 1 seed, the St. Michael Angels. Who came up big for you there?
Everybody did. It was a team effort. We had a lot of guys that don't normally steal bases. We're stealing bases just to make sure that we had guys in scoring position. We had a good pitching performance. Jose Sabino started for us, gave us like 3 solid good innings, and then one of our best pitchers, Ambi Torres, came in and kind of held them at bay. St. Michael's a really good team. I think we faced Sean. Don't know much about him, but you know, his stuff was moving. He was hitting spots. I don't think he walked anybody. I don't think. Well, maybe 1 or 2, but he pitched a really good game. We had a lot of errors in the field. I think that game. I think we had 5 errors, so it was really a question if we could just out hit our mistakes in that game.
Model had a really great season for the Angels. The fact that you guys were able to do what you did against them, certainly no easy task. So hats off to you in that one. This bracket, when we had Dan Pluff on to break it down a couple of times for us, we talked a little bit about just the depth and how, at least on paper, evenly matched these teams were in this bracket. You know, we from the 1 seed, the St. Michael Angels, all the way down to the 8 seed, the St. Croix Valley Silverbacks. Really, just a couple of games separated the 1 from the 8. You really had to outlast a lot of great individual performances in terms of the depth and quality of teams and what they could throw at you. Eventually, you make the championship game where you saw a team that you were a little familiar with, having just played them the weekend before, the TC Snappers. How much do you think that first round matchup was on your mind, and how much do you think it was on their mind in terms of just the team's abilities to pull it off?
I can speak for us. I know that we came into that game pretty confident. We were swinging the bat well. We had our best lineup out there. I think we had like 18 guys show up, so we had a lot of runners if needed, and we were healthy. They're a good team, so we didn't take them for granted or anything. We wanted to come out and kind of show that we belong, and we were confident kind of this whole tournament. We had a feeling that our team was better than our record indicated, so we kind of wanted to show everybody that.
Something that I noticed is a little bit of a trend, at least in these championship photos that were getting spread around, happens to be the depth. Teams that won, they had 14, 15, 16, 18 guys, right, that were showing up for these games. How much did the depth play into the fact that you guys were maybe able to have a little bit more energy, maybe go a little bit deeper with the pinch runners and defensive substitutions? How much of an advantage was that for you?
It was massive, Josh. I mean, most of the season we were rocking 11, 12 guys, and we didn't really even I'm new to this, helping out with the team and putting my input into lineups. We didn't really do shared positions,
right?
Basically all year, and then we just kind of figured out that that's legal and you can do it. And so we had our best defenders out there, and then we had our best lineup out there, and everybody who needed a runner had a runner. And that, I think that's everybody had their strengths, and we were minimizing our team's weaknesses. And so I think that played into our confidence. Is we knew we had some guys that can can do certain things, and we just put them in the positions where they could excel at those. So I think that played a huge role in our success in this tournament.
That's a lot of wisdom there. Whether you guys stumbled on it or really cooked up a great strategy, allowing guys to focus on a narrowed task, whether it be fielding a position or just hitting or contributing via pinch running. That certainly allows you to kind of take your segment of the game and hyper focus on it and really deliver in an impactful way without having to worry about some of the other facets of the game.
It was really big for us, and I want to give shout outs to our guys too. Some guys that middle order of the bats for us all year moved down to 7, 8, 9, and they just didn't phase them at all. They're all about winning, and guys that played for us all year, became defensive substitutions and pinch runners, and the team just worked together, to accomplish this goal, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
That's so awesome for you guys. I remember Michael Jordan, when he would talk about his championship teams, he was asked once what his team needed to kind of rebuild and retool for another championship. And he was quoted as saying, "We're one Horace Grant away." And what he meant by that was, we need guys who know their role, they accept their role, and they do it with a great attitude. They contribute to the culture. And it might be a reduced role from what they're used to playing in, but when their number's called and when they're presented with a task or an opportunity to contribute, they go out there and they do just that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I like that. Jordan's my guy.
So I was able to take in your last effort against the TC Snappers, and you really guys were dominant. You were on cruise control. You got a really great pitching performance. You had a lot of guys slapping the ball all around the ballpark. Who specifically really stepped up large for you in the championship?
Yeah, we had I think we had 15 hits that game. Aaron Olson came in. He plays for the Shakopee Indians with the kids, and he had a big lift to our lineup. I had a couple of hits. I walked it off with a 3-run double, I think, to put us up 10. Jason Grimm's always a monster. I think he had like 6 or 7 bombs on the year and 20 or 25 RBIs. That guy's just crazy good.
That helps.
Mick Duderow pitched a hell of a game. He's just like an ultimate competitor on the mound. Throws strikes, super crafty. Glad we got him from Dundas. We had 1 through 9 though. Could really swing it, and I think they all contributed in some kind of way.
Well, it certainly sounds like it was a true team effort and a game that really allows you guys to walk off into the sunset in victorious fashion. Congratulations to you and your crew on a well-played tournament and ending your season on a win streak and being able to hoist the single A championship trophy.
Thanks, Josh. It was a lot of fun. And congratulations to you as well. For you guys winning the Double A bracket.
Yeah, appreciate that. We share a lot of both of our runs share a lot of commonality in terms of being able to use some depth and getting some really unique pitching and some great contributions offensively, but certainly in great company with your crew that we can share the podium with you guys. Congrats on a wonderful year, and thanks for your time and for joining Fed Up.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Let's do it again sometime.
That sounds great. Yeah, we'll do that.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
All right. Well, teams beware of the Elko Chuggers next year. It sounds like they have a really great group, and when they show up, they can really play. Congrats to them on winning the Single A championship. A remarkable end to a really great season for them. Our last guest I mentioned was a 20-year veteran of Senior League Baseball. He's new to the Federal League this year, and just the insight of why they came over and what they've enjoyed about playing in the Federal League is a fantastic listen. I hope you enjoy it. Well, it is my honor at this time to welcome onto the podcast Mr. Steve Brown of the Eden Prairie Flyers. Steve, welcome to Fed Up.
Hey, thank you. Thanks a lot, Josh.
Well, I got to congratulate you on a well-played tournament. You guys are the Class B champions of the 2024 season. How's it feel?
Pretty good. We came together well at the end of the season. We had an up and down regular season and kind of put it all together at the end. It was nice.
Always great to end your season on a winning streak. You know, I feel like the people in the Federal League, you guys are kind of the new kids on the block. What do you say we introduce you a little bit? Why don't we start with just your personal baseball story?
That's a long one. I've been in 35 and over since 2005. So it gives you an idea how long I've been playing just on this level. And I've been on the same team. So it's been the Eden Prairie Flyers. We started out in a different league, and I just moved it over last season. But it's been a lot of fun. And before that, I was playing town ball, obviously, since I was about 19 years old here in Minnesota. So
Where'd you play your town ball at?
I played a little bit in Chaska, Carver. Eden Prairie had a team for a while.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where I ended it before I went over to 35 and over. But it was fun. I've been playing since I was 8 years old, so this is kind of part of my DNA at this point.
Well, tell us a little bit about your team. Where the core of your guys been from? Where did you find each other? How long have you been playing together?
I'd say for the past 10 years, we've been kind of putting it together. Started out with 2 or 3 guys. Like a guy named Buck Steingus kind of got brought in by my first baseman, and then he kind of spread it out, brought in. I got 3 Adams brothers on my team now, and they all contribute a lot. And then they have friends that they played in college with or in high school with, and all from the kind of the Minnetonka area and Eden Prairie. And so they just kept bringing me a guy or 2 every year until we finally started really stepping it up last season.
Well, it always helps to get a group of brothers that can play, that's for sure. Well, and speaking of Buck Steingas, he really shouldered the load for you guys. The guy threw 65 and a third innings for you. Speak just a little bit about what he means to your team.
We would lose a lot more games if we didn't have Buck. We're thin on pitching a lot this year, and that's due to injury and all different kinds of family stuff going on. So he likes to pitch. He always wants the ball. For the state tournament, he pitched 2 days in a row. Most guys don't do that, but he completes a game, then finishes most of the second game, and then we just fill in behind him. But all year long, he took the ball, even though we took a few poundings along the way. He still was out there for 5 innings just throwing a ball. I don't know how many pitches he threw, but it was a lot.
Well, you got to love when you have a bulldog like that on your roster that you feel like you can throw out there just about every game.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny because he's been on the team. I didn't let him pitch for the first couple of years because we had other pitchers, and he was the only guy who could really play center field well. So he begged me all the time until I finally let him in, and he's been the horse ever since.
And now he won't give it up.
No.
Being your first year in the Federal League, tell us a little bit just about what your guys thought of the experience.
They enjoyed the competition because it was a step up from what we were used to in the past few years. They really enjoyed the fact we don't have to travel so much. That was one of the big reasons we moved leagues, is because we just couldn't field a team that could be competitive every week because there's so much travel. Guys can't always make it to 2-hour road trip or something like that. So they enjoyed the competition, enjoyed the lack of the travel, so to speak. They like the website. I mean, there's just a lot of different things I hear from them all the time. They like the way this is done, and they like the way the fields look and how close they are. And it looks like a step up in baseball as far as how it's organized.
Certainly a lot of beautiful venues in the league that you guys are coming from, but you're certainly greeted by a lot of familiar faces as well with some of the teams that have come over in recent years. So I know it's not all new experiences for you guys, but I'm glad you're by and large enjoying your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasant surprise.
Well, you mentioned they enjoyed the competition. It was a little bit of trial by fire for you guys. Kind of a slow start to start the year, but when you're opening up with teams like Newmarket and Lakeville and Rockford, that is a lot to take on right away.
Yeah, we all felt that. Yeah. Every guy was like, whoa, what did we get ourselves into here? Because we were playing these teams, and they're really good. I can tell that right away. But on the same token, our team was fielding about half of our normal guys. And
Yeah.
you go into a competition against a team that's that good and you're not ready to go, you're going to take a whooping. And we took a few of those from those types of teams.
We must have started getting your guys together, your core together, sometime around July, because even though the wins didn't come in spades at that time, you kind of went through a season of playing some tighter games with some really good teams. You saw Tonka Bay in there and just lost by 2. You saw Waconia in there and just lost by 3. But you're competitive.
Yeah, and that's the whole key is if you get the right guys there in key positions, we could compete with anyone. We may lose like a 6-3 game to Waconia, but that's a team that could easily 10 run us if we don't have the right guys. And we got a few of those with Newmarket and Lakeville, some of those. And we went in there with I think we were pitching guys that hadn't pitched much the year before. So we're just throwing guys out there so we had to get the games in and didn't want to, have to forfeit or reschedule it, because rescheduling is really difficult when you have that many games.
Yeah, you guys really took on quite a bit in that last week of the season with the Thursday game against the Rockford Rail Splitters. You played that doubleheader in 2 different ballparks, and then you ended with a doubleheader on a Tuesday night.
Yes. We just wanted to get the games in, and we finally had enough guys that we could do that. It's hard to play a doubleheader if you have 9 or 10, but you get 14 guys or so, then you can kind of move guys around. And we had most of our core started really being able to come a lot more, and they weren't hurt in July, like you were saying, because May and June were a rough go.
Yeah.
Once we hit July, we kind of hit our stride. The guys weren't coaching their kids as much, and they were able to show up more often. And then when you do that, you perform better because you get your reps. And 35 and over, you need reps.
How much do you think that stretch kind of battle tested you guys for the rigor of the tournament?
I think it got us kind of in a groove because guys were getting regular at bats, and we had most of our pitchers kind of were coming together so we could throw a more consistent rotation, even though we still leaned a lot on Buck. We had a chance to throw more than 2 different guys or 3 different guys. We had 4 or 5 guys we could throw out there. Got them going, and when you play a tighter game, guys are hitting much better because they're engaged. They're not coming up to the bat when we're down 8-1 or something like that, or we're in a 2-1 ball game and they're ready to go. The guys on my team are really competitive. That's one of the nice things about running this team is they come to play every night.
You guys had a really big doubleheader on literally the last night of the season against the Chaska Diamonds. A ton was at stake in terms of seeding of where you're going to end up in the B bracket. You guys ended up sweeping both halves of that. What did that do just for the morale and really the spirit heading into the tournament?
Oh, that was tremendous because we were talking before the game. We got to win both these. We can't split with this. We're looking at the brackets and we said, okay, this is where we're at. If we do this, this is where we're at. If we do this, we got a chance to be where we got, which was the 3rd seed. If we win both games. So we had 2 pretty good pitchers starting. I think Buck finished the first game, started the second game, like he does quite often, and everybody else just filled in around him. And the guys were taking extra bases. We were playing pretty flawless defense for the most part. I think we got a little lackadaisical in that first game because we were up 7-1 and we gave up 3 runs in the 6th, and we're like, what are we doing here? We thought we were going to lock that one down and just start the next one, and that kind of woke us up a little bit because we played pretty flawless the second game. But it was big because then we know, okay, we're getting a pretty good seed. We're going to be able to line up our pitching and that sort of thing for the run.
Well, and the lining up the pitching must have really been a huge benefit for you because you guys really were on lockdown when it came to that first weekend. Tight wins against Red West. You won that one 4-2. You beat the JTs the first time around 5-3. Speak a little bit about just what your pitchers were able to accomplish that first weekend.
Well, I mean, the first game, Red West, we had Jeff Adams, one of the Adams brothers. He pitched, and that one was a scary one. He started out walking 3 or 4 guys in the first inning. We're down 2-0, and we're like, oh, this is not looking good. And he went flawless the rest of the game. They couldn't touch him, and it was a lot of infield flies and really easy plays for the most part of the game. So that was great. And the funny thing about that game was we come into it, and a lot of some of our main guys, like the Steinges brothers, like a couple of the Adams brothers, weren't going to be there because they had planned vacations, because we used to play our state tournaments middle of August. So they scheduled
Second and third week, yeah.
Yeah, and they scheduled it last year, beginning of August. So like we can't do anything. So we had to some guys had to step up, and a few of the guys that don't play as often, or kind of they sub for other guys at the end of the game. They had to play a bigger role, and they came through in that first game. I think one of the guys, I had a Scotty Anderson. I had a waiver on him to get him to play. He ends up getting a 2-run single that wins the game for us in the first game. And that was like his third or fourth game on the year.
Great to find unlikely heroes in unlikely places. Your last game of the weekend was against the St. Paul JTs.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jim Block, who's somebody that I assume you're familiar with, being around the game as long as you have been.
Oh yeah, he plays I play in a 50 and over league too, and he plays in that league with Crosstown.
So you squeak by them 5-3, which would be a little foreshadowing. But your first game of the second weekend against the number 1 seed, the Vesely Vulcans, they came into that game feeling pretty good about themselves. Obviously, the shot in the arm that they got during the middle of the year by taking on some of the Webster players, I know they were really riding high and confident. What was the moment in that game where you thought that you might have a chance to beat them?
Well, we always feel if we're in a game where it's 1 or 2 runs, we have a lot of confidence in our offense, so we figured we would be able to hit. And that game was, 1-1 for a long time. We just got a couple key hits at the end, the sixth inning, and close it out was Buck. I think Buck pitched that game, and Buck Steinges, and I think he completed it. It was an excellent performance, especially against that team, because they had 10 rundas like a week before that. When we went to Vesely, we were kind of a skeleton crew, but the true gamers, we showed up with whoever we had, did the best we could, and they really put it to us that game. So there's a little revenge factor with that. We wanted to show up a lot better against them than we did the first time.
The JTs ended up being your opponent again in the championship game. They had a little bit of a revenge factor on you in the first game, beating you 10-6. What were the guys' mentality after you lose that first game? Did you start feeling a little pressure about being double dipped?
A little bit. We were concerned because we didn't pitch real well. It was kind of choppy in that game. We scored 6 runs. We always feel if we score 6, we should be able to win most games. And they took advantage of our mistakes, walking people, and we kicked the ball around a little bit for an inning or two. And we got down 3, then we cut it to 1, then they went back up 3, and before then we're in the 7th inning. Okay, well we're in the 7th inning. We're thinking, okay, this is probably not going to happen. Let's get our mindset for the next game. And we kind of cut it just like that. We're like, okay, we can't do anything about this one now. Let's go. And we were sick of playing the JTs. That was like 3rd time in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that is a team, I've mentioned it several times on this podcast that, come August, they just expect to win in this B bracket. They've won it a number of times. They have a little bit of swagger about them. They had a lot to play for in what was Jim Block's final game in the Federal League.
Yep.
And you took them on in that championship game. Who were the heroes for you?
The championship game, Sean Flaherty, our leadoff guy, he started the game out with a bomb, hit one over the right field, that short right field porch in St. Bonnie, and he hit it a long way. And he came back in after that one. He goes, the ball looks really big out of this guy's hand. So I'm ready to go. And I was like, okay, that's great. He ends up getting 2 more doubles, bangs it off the fence twice.
Wow.
And he's doing it with a tweaked hammy. So I was like, and he's playing center field. He does a lot of things for us. He's played catcher for us, shortstop, wherever we need him. But he was probably the MVP of that game for sure.
First inning home run, that had to have been a way to really spark the guys and get them going and pump some energy into the roster. What was that moment like?
Oh, that was great. I jump out of the dugout and I'm one of the first guys to meet up at home plate. I was like, okay, we're ready to go now. And it's such a big lift for our pitching because Buck's starting that game. And he's going out there with a lead, and he pitches really tough when he's got a lead to work with. He just doesn't give in to hitters, and it makes it real difficult. And those guys can hit. JT's been an excellent hitting team, and he really, I mean, we shut him out, and he shut him down pretty well.
Yeah, that home run turned out to be enough. The final of that game, 3-0. Excellent pitching performance in the championship.
Yeah, we kind of patchwork because that was Buck. He went the first 4 because he'd gone 7 the day before. But he went 4 that game, and we just filled in with Travis Adams, who's a pretty good closer for us, lefty, and then this guy, Brian Morgan, probably our best overall player. He came in and closed the door for us. He throws some BBs when he wants to. He's really, really good. It's like kind of having the lefty-righty closer that you need sometimes, and it's nice and shorten the game that way.
Well, must have been fantastic managing, to your credit. So the inaugural season for the Eden Prairie Flyers in the Federal League, a resounding success. Not only do you guys get to end your season on a win streak, but you get to be the first ever recipients of the Class B trophy that we'll make sure to get out to you over this offseason. Congratulations on a really well-played year.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. It was fun. Love the league. Great. Hopefully we can stick with the Federal League for a long time.
I love it. You guys are a great addition. So glad to have you, and congrats again on your championship. Thanks for your time today, Steve. Enjoyed having you on and getting to know you and your team a little bit better. That is all the time we have for this edition of Fed Up. I hope you enjoyed getting to know our champions a little bit better. Congratulations to all of the teams that competed in this year's playoffs. A lot of great baseball were played, a lot of teams that were certainly capable of grabbing that top prize. Maybe next year's your year. Before signing off, I just want to say a special thank you to all of you who approached me through the couple of weekends of the playoffs and mentioned that you listen, mentioned that you enjoy the podcast. Really do this for you guys. I humbly bring this to you. I know I'm not a journalistic background by any means, but doing the best I can for a league and a group of guys that I've really come to love and enjoy. So thank you for your words and your encouragement. It really does mean a lot. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed most of our first season here. We will bring you another episode. It'll be our last episode of the year next week. Still considering doing that scorecard. I'd love to just see for myself just how much egg I got to eat on how much I was completely wrong on. I know there's a lot of teams that I completely missed the boat, and they are due their justice in showing me up on some of the wrong predictions that I made. So we'll do that, and then we will have a guest for you next week as we explore some of the potential changes that we might consider over the 2024 offseason into 2025. And so I will leave this with you. If you have an idea on how to make the league better, how to improve the season. I've heard some people talking about expanding the AAA to maybe 10, 12, 14, 16 teams. Share your thoughts with me on that. Send me a direct message, post it on X. Feel free to email your ideas to fedupmn35@gmail.com. You can text me or call me with them as well, 612-390-0862. I ask that you try and echo the spirit of the podcast. Try to keep it positive. Try to keep it in the interest of just providing a better experience for yourself, for your team, for the entire league. But I would love to hear your ideas. I promise to give as many of them as I can, some airtime as we look at this together on how to make 2025 even better. Until then, thanks for listening.